Swamin namaste natalokabandho karunya sindho patitam bhavabdho mamuddharatmiya kataksha drishtya rajvyati karunya sudhabhivrishtiya Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste. Jnate vastunyapi balavati vasananadiresha karta bhoktapyahamiti dridha Yasya samsara hetuh pratyak drishtyaatmani nivasata sapaneya prayatnad muktim prahustadiha munayo vasana tanavam yat muktim prahustadiha munayo vasana tanavam yat kimapi satatabodham kevalanandarupam nirupamamativelam nityamuktam niriham niravadhigaganabham nishkalam nirvikalpam hridi kalayati vidvan brahmapurnam samadhau hridi kalayati vidvan brahmapurnam samadhau. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru. Last week we all went to the prisons in Mathura where Devaki and Vasudeva, they were imprisoned by Kamsa and where Sri Krishna took birth. Today we'll try to see what that Krishna has told us regarding how everybody should live their life. We were discussing Ashtavakra Samhita, and I was sharing with you and discussing with you the shlokas where Ashtavakra, sage Ashtavakra, has described how a realized person, a self-realized person, behaves and moves about. That is the Jivan Mukta. One who is Jivan Mukta, what he does, he must be looking like any ordinary person. Says Ashtavakra says that he moves about just like any ordinary person. The volume has become very less. Any ordinary person, but he is one who always remains seated in himself. Whatever he does, whether he is walking, sitting, eating, talking, taking something, singing, in anything, whatever he thinks, how he behaves, when he interacts, in everything, he never falls from his self-seatedness, from the very fact that he is the self. He never falls down from that knowledge. So, we read a sloka in which Sage Ashtavakra says, Sarvatra drishyate swastha. I'll quickly go and repeat these slokas. Sarvatra drishyate swastha, sarvatra vimalashayah, samasta vasana mukto muktaha, sarvatra rajate the Mukta, the liberated person, the self-realized one, he is seen everywhere as self-seated, abiding in the self, who has withdrawn into his self. He is of pure mind and he shines everywhere with his own luster. When he moves around, when anybody comes near him, that other person can understand how this self-realized person is, and he also gets influenced by the radiance which the liberated person radiates. Pashyan, Shrinvan, Sprishan, Jigran, Ashnan, Grinhan, Vadan, Brajan, Ihitan, Ihitair Mukto, Mukta Eva Mahashaya. So, in this shloka, the same thing is told, that while touching, while seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, taking, speaking, walking, in every activity, this self-realized person has no effort. He has no doership, he has no enjoyership. He is beyond this kartritva and bhoktritva. And also, he is able to do so because he is desireless and he has samatva in his mind. So, these are certain shlokas which I think is very, very useful for anybody, all the sadhakas and those who want to proceed and progress in this path to become a realized person, to realize the self. These are to be remembered. How a realized person behaves, what are his characteristics, who is he. Like I've been constantly repeating this shloka, this line, Yani eva sthita prajnasya lakshanani, tani eva sadhanani. Whatever are the characteristics and qualities of a sthita prajna or a liberated person, a wise, self-realized master, those are the sadhanas of the sadhakas. That is, we have to understand those qualities, and as a sadhaka, we should try to imbibe those qualities, and then only we step by step go towards the self-realized state. Saeva dhanya atmajnah sarva bhaveshu yah samaha pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran ashnan nistarshamanasaha. So that self-lover is indeed blessed. He is blessed because he has this even-mindedness, equal disposition in all states, in all situations, in all conditions, and also he has no desire. He is so because he has no desire. Why does he have no desire? Because he knows and lives this knowledge that he is the self, and that self is everywhere. The self which is one without a second. When there is no second entity, then what will one desire? What will one like? What will one dislike? About whom there will be fear? About whom there will be fault-finding or blame? When one is everywhere and one lives in that knowledge of oneness, then the kartritva, bhoktritva, desire, all these simply fall. Simply fall. Muktim prahustadiha munayo vasana tanavam yat. I just now chanted a sloka from Viveka Chudamani. Jnate vastunyapi balavati vasana anadiresha. Even though we know this, we come to know about the self. See, many do not even know. They live a very ordinary life, worshipping, propitiating gods and goddesses. From that stage, when one looks within and understands that there is something beyond religiosity, there is spirituality, and one understands that I'm not the body but the self. What are the characteristics of the self? What is Brahman? All these things one may come to know and know this knowledge very well by repeated reading the Shastras, by repeatedly hearing the Shastras, by contemplating, by meditating. This knowledge is had. But Shankaracharya says, Jnate vastunyapi balavati vasana anadiresha. This, even though one knows it, what becomes a hindrance is the vasana, desire. And he says, Muktim prahustadiha munayo vasana tanavam yat. That is liberation when the desires are attenuated. So this shloka, Ashtavakra sage Ashtavakra is also saying, Saeva dhanya atmajna. The atmajna is dhanya, is blessed. Sarva bhaveshu yas samaha. Who has even-mindedness in everything. Every condition, every situation, every thought. Even while working, interacting. So when he sees something, hears something, touches something, smells something, eats something, in everything, since he has this even-mindedness, he has no desire. No desire. Atmaupamyena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo mataha. In everything he sees the self. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, O Arjuna, in everything is the self. Whether it is happiness, unhappiness, similarly anything and everything, it is the self and self everywhere. So that Atmajna, who not only has read the scriptures, who has realized the scripture, who is established in that knowledge, who never falls from that knowledge, whatever he is doing, that person is blessed because he has that even-mindedness and he is bereft of any desire. My dear children, why do we read this? Why do we again and again go through these shlokas? Whether you read the Ashtavakra Samhita, whether you read the Yoga Vasishta, whether you read the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, any other scripture, the Upanishads, the Prakaranas, we revel in these messages. We find that the same thing, the same knowledge is being given in various ways, but the knowledge is the same. And we like to hear. We like to contemplate on this. Why? Because we too want to reach that state. And when we are reading about any self-realized soul, for every one of us, it is essential that we analyze ourselves with what we read, compare, assess, and see, am I like this? Why is it that I am not like this? What do I have to do to become like this? See, here I am reading, Saeva dhanya atmatyaha sarva bhaveshu yas samaha. Pashyan, Shrinvan, Sprishan, Jigran, Ashnan, Nistarshamanasaha. So this one shloka let us take. I am reading this shloka, I like this shloka, I chant this shloka, maybe I will contemplate on this shloka. Is it only that? No. Every moment we have to see whether I am like this. Why is it that I am not like this? Why I still don't have this samatva in sarva bhava. Sarva bhaveshu yas samaha. Have I reached that state where I can say that I am having samatva in every condition? If it is not, then why? What is holding me back? What kind of desire? See, when there is a desire, you'll find that this samabhava has gone. So, every day for any seeker, any sadhaka who are on the path, there should be an assessment with oneself and comparison with whatever we read. From the morning till we sleep, all the activities that has taken place, whatever one has thought, whatever one has spoken, whatever activities one has done, whatever interactions one might have had, in all that, at least once in a day, if not every moment, one must introspect and see how I have been able to be even-minded in some situations and how in some situations I have not been able to. And why then? What are the hindrances? Where was the obstacle? What was the desire which has held me back? If we do this introspection, I think we have been talking constantly, that we must introspect, do vichara. And in that case alone, we'll be able to find that the whole thing is very lively. The whole sadhana, this path, becomes very, very interesting, lively, and we'll be able to go forward. Otherwise, it becomes every day the same repetition. We may like it, but it's not taking us anywhere. So that is why Yoga Vasishta says, Dirgha samsara rogasya vicharo hi mahaushadham. This samsara roga, this worldliness that comes in, what is this worldliness? Desire. Desire alone. Small desire or big desire. One may not have big desire, but small desires that I should be loved. People should be considerate to me. People should understand my difficulties. I should be recognized. Or a little acknowledgement. All these are very subtle desires which remain in the mind. But they are desires. I may not want a lot of wealth, a lot of property. I may not want name, fame, etc., prestige. I may not want a very big house to stay in or all comforts. But these small desires, they are enough to make the mind restless, to make the mind feel unfulfilled. Muktim prahustadiha munayo vasana tanavam yat. My dear children, this is one shloka. I think you should read it again and again. I think 267. Jnate vastunnyapi balavati vasana nadiresha karta bhokta pyahamiti dridha yasya samsara hetuhu pratyak drishtvatmani nivasata sapaneya prayatnat muktim prahustadiha munayo vasana tanavam yat. Muktim prahustadiha munayo vasana tanavam yat. So what is this mukti? We are talking about what? I started the talk by saying that we were discussing about the self-realized person, a Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul. Then, what is this liberation? Everywhere it is written, this liberation is desire-freeness. And those desires, though the big desires may go, small desires. That I should be respected, I should be talked to very nicely. Day to day, these subtle desires are there in our day-to-day interactions. Day-to-day interactions. So we have to be introspecting. Suppose I have an interaction with somebody that is not very pleasant, it agitates me. Why does it agitate? Because I am expecting a good behavior from the other person. So I am expecting a particular behavior from other person. Whenever there is expectation and desire, the mind will not be happy. So leave it. Understand? People will not behave properly sometimes. Don't expect. Don't have bitterness. Don't have sorrow. So muktim prahustadiha munayo vasana tanavam yat jnate vastunyapi balavati vasana anadiresha. This vasana is balavati, very, very strong. And it is beginningless. Where from the vasana arises, we don't know. If we look into our mind, we'll find that from morning to night, constantly there are some vasana. Vasana means it's not something big. I have to go there, I have to do this, I have to take bath now, after that I'm feeling hungry, I have to take something, I must meet somebody, I have to tell this something, somebody something, I have to go and get that. All these are small things which clutter the mind. Constantly there is some kind of thought process going on in the mind. So I got a very beautiful sloka, when Swamiji has taught many slokas, so I was thinking of this sloka, not remembering where I had written it, and then I found it somehow. So I will tell you this sloka also after I finish this. So, jnate vastunyapi balavati vasana anadiresha. So this is a vasana which is anadi, which is balavati, which is beginningless, and it is very, very strong. Even after the truth has been known, this vasana remains. And it is very, very obstinate. It will constantly come like an enemy, not allowing us to become self-seated. Karta bhoktapyahamiti dridha yasya samsara hetuhu. It is dridha. It is very, very obstinate, deep-rooted. And what is its expression? Karta bhokta. It constantly brings in us this feeling, I am the karta, I am the bhokta. I am doing this, I have done this, or I have not done this. I have to do this. If I do this, this will happen. This kind of thoughts. So karta and bhokta, that's katritva and bhoktitva. These feelings are the expressions of this deep-rooted vasana, desire, which is also beginningless. Very, very strong. Very difficult to get rid of it. Pratyak drishyatmani nivasata sapaneya prayatnat. It has to be removed by prayatna, effort. It has to be removed by effort. And it has to be carefully removed by living in a state of constant identification with the self or Brahman. What? It can be removed. Definitely it can be removed. Because all the seers, all the wise people, they have been able to remove. That is why they say that, my dear children, it can be removed, but with effort. Effort has to be there. And constant effort. Not that today I make an effort and then I feel very tired. Oh, lot of effort I have given. So another 2 days I don't think about it. Constant effort. And that constant effort also should not be something which is difficult. They say it can be done. We must have faith in them. That is called Shraddha. Shastreshu Guru Vakyeshu, we must have Shraddha. Whatever the Shastras say, whatever the Gurus say, we must have faith in that. When they are saying it can be removed by constant effort. Simply hold on to it and give effort. How do we give effort? Whenever we remember, whenever we find, we introspect and we find that the mind has been agitated. The mind is not very restful. What is the factor? Why is it so? We find that somewhere some little desire is there. Some thoughts which are not Brahmic thoughts. What does it say? It can be carefully removed by living in a state of constant identification. That is Brahma Vicharana. Brahma Vicharana. See, when we live our day-to-day life, what is it? From the time we are awake, we are doing all these things. What? Just now we read. We are seeing, we are smelling, we are touching, we are eating, we are hearing. All these things we are doing. Sitting, walking, lying down, taking something, receiving something. So always we are in some kind of activity. While doing this also, we actually forget that I am the self. We feel that I am this limited body, having this name, this form. So, what does it mean? Pratyak drishyatmani nivasata. By trying to remember, we forget. Okay, we forget. As soon as the mind feels that I have forgotten, I must remember again. That is the only way. So, constant effort is that we forget, and the moment we forget, we remember it again. Again try to remember. Maybe for some time we will be remembering. Again we will forget. Again we remember. That is the constancy of effort. Constancy of effort. So when we do this, with this kind of effort, we try to remain in the thought of Brahman as far as we can, as much as we can. Trying to see Brahman everywhere, trying to think that in everything there is Brahman or the self. And in thinking so, this repetition in the mind of these kind of shlokas is very helpful. And when we do that, Muktim prahus tadiha munayo vasana tanavam yat. Liberation is that when vasana will go. When we start thinking of I am the self, and repeat it, try to not only just repeat it mechanically, try to feel it. Try to see that in everything. Try to bring down this Bheda Buddhi, remove that. Remove the desire. That is Mukti. So, I was talking about that other shloka. I was thinking where I have written it. This one, this is Viveka Chudamani, Jnateva Sunyapi Balavati, 267 shloka, number. And this one is Laghu Yoga Vasishta. Snatam tena samasta tirtha sanilaihi sarvapi dattavanihi yajnanam cha sahasramishtam akhila devascha sampujitaha samsaracha samudhrita swapitarai trailokya pugyopyasau yasya brahma vicharane kshanamapi sthairiyam manah prapnuyat snatam tena samasta tirtha salilaihi sarvapi dattavanihi yajnanam cha sahasramishtam akhila devascha sampujitaha samsaracha samudhrita swapitaraihi trailokya pugyopyasau yasya brahma vicharane kshanamapi stairyam manah prapnuyat. samsaracha samudhrita swapitaraha trailokya pudyopyasau. I made a mistake. Swapitaraha. Snatam tena samasta tirtha salilaihi sarvapi dattavanihi yajnanam cha sahasramishtam akhila devascha sampujitaha samsaracha samudhrita swapitaraha trailokya pudyopyasau yasya brahma vicharane kshanamapi stairyam manah prapnuyat. This says, Brahma vicharane yasya shanamapi manah stairyam prapnuyat. Brahma vicharane, in contemplation of Brahman. What were we discussing? That we should contemplate on Brahman. Every moment, whatever we are doing, just remember. Even if you have forgotten, whenever you are remembering that you have forgotten, actually we have remembered. And then again start remembering that I am not this body. This is a changeful body, mind, intelligence. I am the changeless soul. Remembering that, and constantly reveling on that, rejoicing in that. So, here it says, Yasya Brahma vicharane kshanamapi manaha stairyam prapnuyat. For that person who has been doing this Brahma vicharana, and in doing so, whose mind becomes still, even for one instant, one moment, you know what happens? Nothing is required for him. What happens to him? Samasta tirtha salilaihi tena snatam. See, we go to the rivers, especially the holy rivers, to take a dip, and we feel that we have become pure. We have done some punya karma. All that just by becoming still in the mind by Brahma vicharana, even for a moment if it is so, we get the benefit of samasta tirtha salilaihi tena snatam. One becomes pure by that thought. Just like when we go to the holy river, we feel that we have taken a dip, we have bathed in the holy river water, and we feel pure. Actually, we start feeling very pure. A purity is felt in the mind, body. Nothing has to be done. If we can keep our mind contemplative in Brahma vicharana, even for a moment. Samasta tirtha salilaihi tena snatam sarvapi avanihi datta. He will get the benefit as if he has offered the whole earth to somebody. He has given dana. Suppose when people give dana, it is a punya karma. So that benefit will be had. Yajnanam cha sahasram ishtam. The benefit of having performed all the yajnas, the fruits of the yajnas, the benefit of that, all that he will be having. Akhilaha devaha sampujitaha, as if he has worshipped all the gods and goddesses. Samsara cha swapitaraha samudhritaha, and as if he has given offerings to all the ancestors, the whole lineage. People do this in the worldly life. People feel that they will become pure, they will be having the benefit of auspiciousness by doing these things. What? Going and taking a dip in holy river, giving dana, doing lot of yajnas, and propitiating and worshipping many gods and goddesses, then also offering to the ancestors. People The worldly people do that. There are definite dates also. And they feel that they have become pure. They have gained some purity, holiness, auspiciousness by this. This shloka is saying there's nothing need be done. You will become pure to the core if even for a second you are able to establish yourself in the thought of Brahman and the mind becomes still. Asau trailokya pujyaha api. That, in fact, that person is respected in all the three worlds. Definitely so. The self-realized masters, the Mahatmas, they are respected everywhere. They have nothing as their property, or they have nothing of their own. They move about, just talking to people, giving them peace, happiness. They have nothing to call their own. But they are respected by everybody. They are respected by everybody. They are loved by everybody. Because when their minds are established in the thought of Brahman, they are able to radiate that auspiciousness, the holiness, the purity in all directions. Whosoever comes near him, they understand it. Snatam tena samasta tirtha salilaihi sarvapi dattavanihi yajnanam cha sahasramishtam akhila devascha sampujitaha samsaracha samudhrita swapitaraha trailokya pujya upyasau yasya brahma vicharane kshanamapi stairyam manah prapnuyat. In the three worlds, trailokya pujyaha api. Trailokya pujyaha api. In all the three worlds he is respected, worshipped actually. Not only respected and loved, he is worshipped in the three worlds. Though he has nothing as his treasure, one thing only he has a treasure. What is that treasure of his? That his mind is in Brahma Vicharana. It remains in Brahman. That is the only treasure he has. So, when we read this, we should also want it. That my mind also should become like this. Nothing should be of any value more than this. That my mind is, I have many things. I may be dealing with many things, but I should give this the supreme place in my mind. And every day see whether how I have spent the day. Have I given this Brahma Vicharana the supreme place or not? That is what I was saying. From morning till night, whatever we have done, we must analyze, assess, compare, and see, have I given this the supreme place or something else has taken the supreme place? That is the desire, which has no meaning. All desires are simply meaningless. Nate shuramate buddhaha. Those who are wise and those who are becoming wise and wiser, they do not give any value to any desire. All desires are transitory. And what is permanent? The permanent is one's own self, the Brahman, the feeling that I am this self. Kaupinam shatakhanda jarjarataram kantha punastadrishi naischintyam nirapeksha bhaiksham ashanam nidrashmashane vane swatantrena nirankusham viharanam swantam prashantam sada Stairyam yoga mahotsave pichayadi trailokya rajyena kim kaupinam shatakhanda jarjarataram kantha punastadrishi Naischintyam nirapeksha bhaikshamashanam nidrasmashane vane swatantrena nirankusham viharanam swantam prashantam sada stairyam yoga mahotsave pichayadi trailokya rajyena kim. This is by Bhartrihari from Vairagya Shatakam. It says, Kaupinam shatakhanda jarjarataram is talking about such a realized person. He has nothing. His kaupinam, the loincloth, shatakhanda jarjarataram, it has got torn into 100 pieces. Kantha punastadrishi, and the cloth by which he covers his body, kantha, punastadrishi. The kaupinam is torn and tattered in 100 pieces. Similar is the condition for the cloth with which he covers himself. Naischintyam nirapeksha bhaikshamashanam. But he is very, very nischinta, without any anxiety. Nirapeksha bhaikshamashanam. He is having no anxiety because he has no expectation. He takes bhiksha, he goes around, asks for alms, and whatever he gets, he eats it. Naischintyam nirapeksha bhaikshamashanam. Since he doesn't expect, he doesn't feel even that whether I'll get food or not, he has no anxiety. So he is very much anxiety free. Nidrash mashane vane. And he lies down wherever he can find space. It may be a smashana, a cremation ground, or it may be a forest. He is nischinta. He has no anxiety. Because he doesn't expect to have a good bed, good mattress, good pillow, good environment, good room. Nothing he expects. Naischintyam nirapeksha bhaikshamashanam nidra smashane vane swatantrena nirankusham viharanam swantam prashantam sada. And swatantrena nirankusham viharanam. Since he has no expectation, no feeling that I should be like this or that, he is swatantra, independent, absolutely not, he doesn't depend on anything. Nirankusham viharanam. He simply goes around everywhere, not depending on anything, very free, without any obstacle and hindrance. He goes around. Today here, tomorrow there. Maybe in one place he will be for 2 days, another place 7 days. Like that he goes around. But what is his mind? Why is he so? Swantam prashantam sada. Because he is inside himself, abiding in himself. Swantam. His mind is always within himself, not outside. When we look outside, then we feel, I must have this, I must have that, I must enjoy this or enjoy that. And when we look inside, there is only one soul which is there, stretched out, and it gives us its bosom. Swantam, prashantam sada. And because the mind has gone inside, it doesn't look forward to anything, expects nothing, absolutely without any dependence, absolutely without any hindrance. It is prashanta, prashanta, absolutely calm and quiet, tranquil, restful, the mind becomes. Stairyam yoga mahotsave pichayadi. My dear children, note these words. What is the word? Yoga mahotsave pichayadi. Stairyam. When the mind is inside, it has gone inside. It has united with one's own indweller, the soul. And it remains absolutely motionless, does not move from there. Stairyam. That union, the yoga, it's a Mahotsava, the greatest festival in one's own life. The greatest festival. We look forward to many, many festivals. One festival over, we are looking forward to the next one. But this festival is ours, which always remains within ourselves. We can always feel it, enjoy it, experience it constantly. We do not do it, but those who do. Stairyam yoga mahotsave pichayadi. For them, it is a festivity, the supreme festivity. Stairyam yoga mahotsave pichayadi. Trailokya rajyena kim. Such a person, when he is in that supreme festivity, what will he do with Trailokya Rajya? Trailokya Rajyena kim. What will he do? Even if he gets the three worlds, if he becomes the ruler of the three worlds, what will he do? With all the outside objects of enjoyment, this stairyam cannot come. This stillness of the mind cannot come. One has to go inside. One has to live there, be established there. Then only this festivity, when the mind will be always in festivity. Now, in worldliness, the festivity feeling is only rare, infrequent. We'll be in one festivity, and the festivity, when it is over, we are again deep into sometimes sorrow, sometimes depression, sometimes grumbling. Only on the festival days everybody is very happy. We forget our enemies, we forget whoever has even hurt us by their words or behavior. We forget everything on the festivity days. This festivity is not like that. This festivity, the Mahotsava, is by the union into one's own self, the soul. Kaupinam shatakhanda jarjarataram kantha punastadrishi naischintyam nirapeksha bhaikshamashanam nidrashmashane vane swatantrena nirankusham viharanam swantam prashantam sada stairyam yoga mahotsave pichayadi trailokya rajyena kim. Stairyam yoga mahotsave pichayadi trailokya rajyena kim. This is yani eva sthita pratyasya lakshanani tani eva sadhanani. We come back to that. When we read this, for the time being we go to that state. We are transported to those states. Why? Because these lines, these words have been composed by such seers who have experienced, who have realized. After realization they have tried to put in these words. In each and every word, there is the power of their realization. their experience. So when we read them with lot of love, We should read them with a lot of love, lot of aspiration. Mostly what we do is just to know. Just to know. That just to know is not enough. It should be there. Then only we will read. Then only we will introspect. Then only we will reflect. But that is not enough. The heart should be there. We should love. We should aspire. And we should make it our own. More than anything that we love. Slowly it will become so. So we come back to Ashtavakra Samhita. And it says in another shloka, which I have already done, it says that the ignorant one, even if they don't do anything, they might not be doing anything, or whatever they do, they are always anxious, always excited, always aggrieved. There is a lot of tension. But the one who is Kushalaha, he is never so. Whatever he does, he is always free of grief and agitation. Akurvannapi sankshobhat vyagra sarvatra modhadhihi kurvannapi tu krityani kushalohi nirakulaha. This we had done. Then it says, Ashtavakra sage is saying, Sukhamaste sukham shete sukhamayati yati cha sukham bhakti sukham bhungte vyavahare pishantadhihi. It says, it describes a very beautiful state that when one is a Jivan Mukta, a liberated person, then that enlightened person, whatever he does, Sukhamaste, he is always, even though he is in activity, he sits comfortably, sleeps comfortably, and speaks pleasantly, eats pleasantly. Everything is pleasant about him. That is, everything is without any agitation and grief. This must be the nature of any realized person. Then I stopped with this sloka. Nisneha putradarādau nishkamo vishayeshu cha nischintasva sharirepi nirāsha shobhate buddha. Nisneha putradarādau nishkamo vishayeshu cha nischinta swasharirepi nirāsha shobhate buddha. See, this Ashtavakra Samhita, it talks about the very highest knowledge. There, this sloka is very, very unique. It talks about Nisnehaha putradarādau. Means what? When it's talking about putra and wife, it is son and wife, adi, etc. That means wife, children, grandchildren, relatives, many things. All that he thinks it belongs to him. Nisnehaha putradarādau, free from the delusional fondness for son, wife, etc. That is I-ness and mine-ness. See, when one is not enlightened, one mistakenly identifies with the body, mind, intelligence, ego, etc. And because of that, one starts feeling, I am this body. And whatever belongs to me are mine. This I-ness and mine-ness. This only brings about all the desires and all possessiveness, all kinds of ego, all kinds of suffering because of that. And ultimately, one has to understand that I am not this changeful body, etc. I am the changeless soul. In short, it is this. So, the enlightened person, or for enlightenment, what one should be, nisnehaha putradaradu, nishkamo vishayeshu cha. One must be free from delusional fondness for all that is mine: son, wife, house, property, wealth, name, fame, prestige, everything. And desireless towards nishkamo vishayeshu cha, desireless towards any other worldly objects. Nischintaha, he should be absolutely free of any kind of anxiety and thoughts of what will happen, what will happen. See, we are constantly having these thoughts of the past and the future. What is the past? All these things happened. And whatever happened, mostly we will grieve over that. Sometimes we will be rejoicing also, but mostly the past will be having its effect on the mind. And what is the future thoughts? Imaginations. What is going to happen? What will happen? Will everything be good with me? Will I have security? Will I have somebody to look after me in my old age? Will my children be all right? Like this, constantly the mind is thinking of the past, that is, brooding with the past and imagining the future. That is why Shankaracharya says in Viveka Chudamani, Atitan ananusandhanam bhavishyad avicharanam audasinyam apis praptam Jivan Muktasya lakshanam. If you want to become a Jivan Mukta, your aspiration is towards that, then don't think about the past. And bhavishyad avicharanam, don't also think about the future. Whatever will happen, happen. Whatever has happened, has happened. So forget about that. And whatever is going to happen, it's not in our hands. No use thinking about that. No use planning about that. No use becoming fearful or anxious about that. What will happen, we do not know. And since we are constantly thinking about the past and future, the mind is constantly agitated, disturbed. So if you want to become Jivan Mukta, who is a Jivan Mukta? His mind is always still. His mind is calm and tranquil. Whatever he does, he is now doing things just like any ordinary person, but he is Mukta. What is the difference between the worldly person and this Mukta, the Jivan Mukta? The worldly person also is doing exactly the same activities. Seeing, hearing, talking, touching, all that. And this Jivan Mukta is also doing. What is the difference? The difference is in the attitude. He doesn't think of the past. He doesn't think of the future. Like this devotee or the realized person, Naischintyam nirapeksha bhaikshamashanam nidra smashane vane. He is nischinta. He is anxiety-less. Why? Because he doesn't expect anything. If he gets food, he'll get. If he doesn't get, he will not get. Are we like this? No, definitely not. Can we become like this? Definitely we can, because some people have become. If I want a higher state, every day I can make some effort for that. So, Naischintyam nirapeksha bhaiksha ashanam nidra smashane vane. And he is sleeping anywhere, wherever he gets. So in our day-to-day life, so much to compare actually. This one line, I think we can constantly keep in our mind and see how our mind has behaved throughout the day. When I felt hungry and the food did not come, or today the food is very bland or hot, or not tasteless, how my mind behaved. Have I become non-expectant regarding food? Have I become non-expectant regarding my place of stay, sleep, my bed, etc., etc., etc.? Have I become? So this one line is enough. Yani eva sthitapratyasya lakshanani, tani eva sadhanani. If we are doing a sadhana, if we consider that we are doing a sadhana, we are aspirant, we are seekers, then these are wonderful statements, my dear children, wonderful statements. I can tell about myself. It's given me so much of insight, so much of insight, so much of joy, bliss, to be just chanting and reflecting on this. And then in my active moments, comparing notes. Oh, I'm not like this, or oh, at least today I'm like this. Wonderful, wonderful. These statements, So, nisneha putradharadau nishkamo vishayeshu cha nischinta swasharirepi nirasha shobhate buddha. Nischinta swasharirepi. So, this person, putradharadau nisneha vishayeshu nishkama cha swasharire api nischinta. He doesn't have any concern about his own body. We are all concerned. We become concerned. And there will be concern when the body is having some kind of disease and suffering. There is suffering, no doubt. But to go to that kind of a state where we do not become agitated or anxious about it, that anxiety can be left. Suffering will be there, we have to suffer. If there is high temperature, if there is stomach problem, or stomach ache, or headache, or so many kinds of diseases, when we undergo, everybody has to undergo some little bit of diseases and sicknesses. The body has to undergo. This nischintata comes from this lack of anxiety. And that anxiety comes because we think about the future. If something happens, we'll think a lot. Oh, is it this disease? Is it that disease? What will happen? Will I be cured? How many days I have to suffer? After that, will I be able to work properly? These are the anxieties. So anxiety can be left. Nischintaha. We must become nischintaha. Swasharirepi. Swasharirepi. Not only diseases and sicknesses, even for anything, what the body needs. For everything. We should become absolutely without any anxiety. Nirashaha. And how can this come about? Nirashaha. Lack of expectation. Naischintyam nirapeksha bhaikshyam ashanam. Naischintyam. See, that is Bhartrihari. Vairagya Shatakam shloka. This is Ashtavakra shloka. Here also the same words are used. Nischinta and nirapeksha. Not nirapeksha actually, nirashaha. Same, meaning wise same. There is no expectation. Expectation is the greatest enemy in human life. To make the mind feel afflicted, tormented. We expect that little expectation. What? I should be talked to in sweet words. I should be praised. Whatever I have done, somebody should acknowledge it and praise it. If not praise, at least recognize that I have done something. The other day somebody was saying, Somebody was saying in the ashram only that earlier she had a feeling that I'm doing so much of work, nobody is even noticing it. See, this is an expectation. If work is given, do it with blessedness. Especially in Guru Sannidhi, near the Guru, everything is a seva. Everywhere, everything is seva. But when we do work, we feel that nobody is understanding that I am doing so much of work. Nobody is coming to help me. These are the expectations, small expectations. Leave aside big expectations. And because of these expectations, the mind remains agitated. Unless the mind becomes still, calm, rippleless, how will the soul be revealed? How will the soul be revealed? If a mirror, the soul has to reveal itself into the mind, reflect itself. Just like when a mirror is dusty, we cannot see our face clearly. If the polish of the mirror is gone, we cannot see our mind, the reflection of our face will not be clear. Similarly, when the mind is not pure, the mind is not calm and tranquil, and it is not pure, it is disturbed. The soul, which reflects into the mind and gets revealed, how will it be revealed? Even if it's revealed, we won't be able to understand it because the mind is constantly agitated. It has so many ripples. So what we should do? Leave the ripples. And that is one thing. Desire and expectation. Desire and expectation. It boils down to only that. And that also ego. Because of this I-ness, the desire and expectation comes. Once the I-ness is there, when one understands that I, the self, is everywhere, only one. No desire, no expectation, because everything is same. Only because something separate from me is there, that I am feeling that there is something separate from me, which becomes mine or becomes a different entity, all these problems come. So the I-ness and mindness, the ego has to go. Ultimately it is that. Nisneha putradaradau nishkamo vishayeshu cha nischinta swasharirepi nirasha shobhate buddha. Buddha means what? Buddha is the wise people, the one who has understood. So, free from the delusional fondness for son, wife, etc. Then desirelessness towards the worldly objects, free from concern about one's own body and all other expectations. The Buddha, the wise, lives in his own splendor. Shobhate, Shobhate. He has his own spiritual splendor. He's always indrawn, abiding in the self, and remaining there. His activities are, his thoughts are. He has no expectation, nothing, no desire. So the mind is always calm. And so, stairyam yoga mahotsavepi. He becomes absolutely deep into this Yoga Mahotsava. His union, understanding, realization of the self, it becomes a festivity. And when there is festivity, there is light and light and light everywhere. His own spiritual splendor, with that, he shines everywhere. Nisneha putradaradau nishkamo vishayeshu cha nischinta swasharirepi nirasha shobhate buddha. See, that is what. So from here, what do we understand? One is that I-ness and mindness, which for everybody, whether he's a householder or an ascetic, this I-ness and mine-ness. That creates the problem, all the problem. So, in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna is telling Arjuna, asaktirana vishwangaha putradara grihadishu. That one must not have, O Arjuna, one must not have this clinging, and one should not have avishwangaha. That is, when something happens to whom I consider mine, something happens good or bad, I also get affected. Putra dara grihadishu. To the wife, son and house and all property. Adi means property, wealth, earning, name, fame, etc. So one should develop asakti, lack of delusional clinging. Delusion, this clinging comes, the possessiveness and attachment come from where? Because of the delusion, the ignorance that I am the soul, I am absolutely changeless, I am the one. Not understanding that, we start thinking, I am this body, which is changeful and which has all these belongings. So, do not have that clinging, do not have that attachment. Constantly make an effort. How will we make effort? Only when we understand that we are having attachment. See, it is not only for householders, it is also for the ascetics. Wherever you are, whatever little is there with me, even in the ashram, there is attachment. There is a lot of scope to have attachment. Attachment to what? Whatever work I am doing, I get attached to that. Attachment to what? Attachment to maybe devotees, they like me, so attachment to that all devotees should like me. Or attachment to what? The Guru gives you a lot of fondness and love, understands you, attachment to that. Attachment and attachment, possessiveness and possessiveness. Possessiveness in the ashrams, lot of scope to have possessiveness. So, in all this, it is saying the mind, the mind is having, whatever your mind is, unless you treat your mind, wherever you are, whether you are in the household, worldly life, or in a ascetic or renunciate life, your mind is yours. That mind should get rid of expectation, desire, I-ness, mine-ness, possessiveness. And how will it get? By refining the intelligence. How will the intelligence get refined? Constantly telling it, making it introspect, and feeding it with this knowledge that you are the self, my dear intelligence. You are the self. You are not this changeful entity. Changeless, eternal, imperishable you are. That you are the self. You are the self. You are the Brahman. Constantly feeding with that knowledge. And as the intelligence starts revolving with this knowledge, what happens? Intelligence becomes enlightened. It starts understanding better. It becomes refined. And when it becomes refined, it can start understanding the mind better. And also guide the mind better. The mind is constantly doing like this, jumping like a monkey. Intelligence is able to control it, giving it the proper guidance. See, you have to be nisnehaha, putradaradu. Nobody is saying that you should not love. We should have a lot of love. Unconditional love. What kind of love do we have? Conditional love. Somebody loves me, so I also love you. That same person, if one day that person doesn't love you, or tells you some a little harsh words, you don't stop loving that person. No. Love should be unconditional. Nisneha. Putradaradu. His Putradaradu is just a word. Anything and everything in this world. Do not be clinging, but have love. Unconditional love. Without any motive we should love. Why should we love everybody? Because the self is everywhere. Everything is an expression of self. See, these are just words we are hearing and reading. We have to make it our own. We have to feel it. How do we feel it? Constantly feel that I am seeing X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D people. And I have this knowledge that everything is self. When it comes to interaction, how will I see that I am really understanding and I have really I have had this knowledge, I am living that knowledge in reality. Only through love. When the mind doesn't become bitter with anybody, when the mind doesn't find fault with anybody, when the mind doesn't blame anybody, criticize anybody, the mind only feels that everybody should be happy, everybody should be peaceful, everybody should be having a feeling of security. Let everything good happen. Whomever we know, whoever is close to me, not close to me, for everybody, that feeling generates. The feeling generates, it's in ripples it goes everywhere, embracing everybody. My dear children, these are things which one really experiences. I think in everything, that love shines. Love everybody. Love everybody. Despite their nature. People may be having different kinds of nature, different behavior. But love. If we can love, I think the whole world is one. One. W-O-N. One. Nisneha putradaradu nishkamo vishayeshu cha nischintasva sharirepi nirasha shobhate buddha. So, this person who is enlightened, buddha shobhate, with his inner spiritual splendor, he shines everywhere. Okay. It gives lot of joy, lot of bliss to be just reading these slokas, reading these words, I should say. From my own experience, I can tell you, every word is, they come out with their meanings, what they really is, what they are, what is their message. They shine if with love we look at them, recite them, utter them, and just contemplate on them. They become ours. And when we just read with that kind of a feeling, the bliss that one has, it is inexpressible. And that bliss is everybody's. Everybody can have it. If only one will make some effort. If only one will love it from one's own heart. Sampurnam jagadeva nandanavanam sarvepi kalpadrumaha gangam vari samasta vari nivaha punyas samasta kriyaha वाचः प्राकृत संस्कृता श्रुतिशिरो वाराणसी मेदिनी सर्वावस्थितिरस्य वस्तु विषया दृष्टे परब्रह्मणि सर्वावस्थितिरस्य वस्तु विषया दृष्टे परब्रह्मणि। जय गुरु, जय गुरु, जय गुरु, जय गुरु।